What's up, guys? All right, so today I want to talk about Kamala Harris and Mike Pence's debate and my thoughts on that, as well as some other things like how you can now accuse businesses of racism on Yelp and some other things, you know. So first, let's get to the Mike Pence and Kamala Harris debate. First of all, in my opinion, even if I looked back and I didn't have any opinion or bias towards anyone, I would definitely think Mike Pence won. He was the more calm debater here. I know Kamala Harris doesn't have a good history of debating. She's really not a good debater, and I think a lot of people know that, even on both sides. But the whole time she's pretty much on the defensive. Even at times when she had some good questions for Mike Pence and he couldn't answer, but he would immediately bring it back to her and put the spotlight on her, which is what a good debater does if a certain question is pretty difficult to respond to, such as the question about the Affordable Health Care Act. I think that's what it is, and how the Democrats and Trump want to get rid of that, and that whole Obamacare. So the issue is it's kind of a complex solution to Obamacare. It's really difficult to solve, but Trump has stated that he doesn't want to get rid of people's pre-existing condition benefits, but they've never actually responded to how. So a lot of Democrats are really skeptical about that, and rightfully so, But what he did, he said, well, we're going to keep the pre-existing conditions, and then he immediately said how the Obamacare was a disaster, which in my opinion it was, for many reasons. First of all, most people now pay on average $400 a month for health care. One of those reasons is because Medicaid. Another reason is because Obamacare, there's sort of a monopoly of healthcare companies going on in certain states, because a lot of companies don't want to participate in Obamacare. And so it's raised healthcare from about, an average like $150 to $200 in just a matter of a few years to $400, which in my opinion is pretty ridiculous. And so I think that was a really good point he made. And one thing he really got Kamala Harris with, actually let's go hit that, check out that clip about the Obamacare. All right.
He interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish, please. If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you.
Obamacare was a disaster. The American people remember it well. And President Trump and I have a plan to improve health care and to protect pre-existing conditions for every American. But look, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts.
Yeah. So I thought that was really funny. She looks right into the camera and goes, "They're coming for you. They're gonna kill you. The big bad boogeyman is coming for you. You better be afraid." Mike Pence and Donald Trump. Oh man, Harris is funny, man. That's like what most of her arguments consist of, is just like all her arguments are attempting to bring out the emotion in people and just fear, pure fear. So I mean, in my opinion, if someone keeps doing that rather than talking about like actual policy, in my opinion, like I think she's a fraud, right? But so I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, Obamacare, I mean, for anyone else who doesn't have pre-existing conditions or isn't on Medicaid, it's pretty ridiculous. My friend pays $1,800 a month, said he pays that much for him and his family. He has like 3 kids, I think, and a wife. And just in case shit happens, right? I mean, how are you supposed to save any money like that with all the other bills? I pay over like $400 a month just in case shit happens. That's more than like my car payment, like, and insurance, like, combined. Crazy. But yeah, I thought that was pretty hilarious. So another thing was that Mike was asking Kamala if they're gonna pack the court if Biden got elected, and she just wouldn't answer it. She wouldn't answer the question. You know, both people like dodged some questions, but I thought this was even worse. She wouldn't answer the question, and then when she said she would, she still didn't answer the question. And I thought Mike Pence zinged her pretty hard for this. At the end, Mike Pence even goes, "For the record, she didn't answer the question." So check this out, you guys.
Are you and Joe Biden, if somehow you win this election, going to pack the Supreme Court to get your way?
I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In 1864...
Well, I'd like you to answer the question.
No, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. In 1864, one of the, I think, political heroes, certainly of the president, I assume of you also, Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln. Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln was up for re-election, and it was 27 days before the election, and a seat became open on the United States Supreme Court. Abraham Lincoln's party was in charge not only of the White House, but the Senate. But Honest Abe said it's not the right thing to do. The American people deserve to make the decision about who will be the next president of the United States, and then that person can select who will serve for a lifetime on the highest court of our land. And so Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now, and it should be their decision about who will serve on this most important body for a lifetime.
Thank you,
And
Senator
the
Harris.
people, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once
Come
again
on.
gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non.
Oh my god! Oh my god, that was hilarious. Did you guys hear that? Oh man. She goes, we're gonna let you vote who's gonna be president, and then that president is gonna choose who's gonna be head of the Supreme Court forever. So it's up to you guys to choose who's president, right? And then Mike Pence goes, well, you still didn't answer the question. And she goes, I'm trying to answer the question. And he goes, well, it's pretty obvious. You're going to pack the Supreme Court. So if you cherish the Supreme Court and the separation of powers, don't vote for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. And then he goes on, and then she goes, wait, let me finish. I'm going to answer. Out of the 50 people you appointed, none of them are black. Like, she doesn't even respond, and she redirects the question to somehow turn Mike Pence into a racist. So I thought that was hilarious. I thought Kamala Harris looked pretty bad. Looked pretty bad in that discussion.
Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about to. So the Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed the appointments for lifetime appointments to the federal courts, district courts, courts of appeal. People who are purely ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent, are substandard. And do you know that of the 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is black? This is what they've been doing. You want to talk about packing a court? Let's have that discussion.
But yeah, let's move on to another one. So, as they're talking about vaccines, Kamala Harris mentions that, well, if the scientists and Dr. Fauci and the CDC tell me to take the vaccine, and they provide a vaccine, I'll be the first in line to take it. But if Donald Trump tells me to take it, I'm not taking that vaccine. No way, because obviously he's the one that made it. He's in his basement cooking up some crazy shit. He's just giving it to people left and right. He's Donald Trump, right? So, and Mike Pence, I love Mike Pence's reaction and response. He goes, well, you know, you shouldn't play politics with people's lives, right? Like the people who are making the vaccine are making it in record time. They're in phase 3. They've got tens of millions of vaccines coming out soon. And he goes, you're playing with people's lives. You're undermining, the public health on whether or not they should take the vaccine or not. So I just thought that was hilarious. But check it out for yourself.
The reality is that we're going to have a vaccine, Senator, in record time, in unheard of time, in less than a year. We have 5 companies in phase 3 clinical trials, and we're right now producing tens of millions of doses. So the fact that you continue to undermine public confidence in a vaccine, if the vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable. And Senator, I just ask you, stop playing politics with people's lives.
And so far, this debate is going horribly for Kamala Harris. It's going so bad that she now has to resort to mansplaining, even when the moderator is asking Mike Pence to respond. and the moderator, I forgot what her name was, but she goes, okay, Kamala Harris, that's enough. And Mike Pence goes, can I respond? And Kamala Harris goes, excuse me, I'm speaking. Totally just mansplaining Mike Pence. And this is when you know it's going wrong for Harris, because every time she looks like she's just getting embarrassed, she does this. Watch this clip.
Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking. If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation.
Susan,
I want to add, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
So, man, that's just so funny. Like, who does that in a debate? I would never, if I was debating someone, I would literally never do that, because I know it would just make me look like a complete idiot. So, I mean, great productive argument. Great productive, explaining of your policies, Kamala. You're doing such a great job. So the next one is they go to the topic of taxes and the economy, and Mike Pence mentions what happened under the Donald Trump administration, how millions of jobs were created, people paid less in taxes than pretty much like ever. Lots of tax cuts were not only made to people who are wealthy, but a lot of people who are in the working class, middle class, lower class. And so Kamala Harris is asked this question. She goes, we're not going to raise taxes. We're just going to repeal all of Trump's tax cuts. Right? And we're not going to tax anyone under 400K. We're just going to repeal all of Trump's tax cuts, which affected everyone, even people who made under 400K, right? It affected me. Like, I paid less in taxes. I had really good deductions because I play poker, and I have a small online business that I just started that I haven't even been profitable yet. And the only thing that kept me up was deductions, right? And so part of the Biden plan is reducing small business deductions to 20%. Dude, that's ridiculous. what if your business doesn't make any money, which most businesses don't make any money within the vast, at least few years, for the vast majority of time? What's going to happen to all these businesses, right? So I watched a thing on Yahoo Finance on the estimate economic growth under Joe Biden, and the GDP would be like negative 1.5%, compared to Trump's was like plus 2.5%. I don't know, I could be wrong, something like that, but it was positive, and he created like 6 million jobs, right? Under Biden, it would be negative 800,000 jobs on estimate. And actually, a friend argued with me about this. He's like, well, 800,000 jobs isn't that much compared to how many jobs there are, right? But let's look at the gap between making 6 million jobs and losing 800,000 jobs. That's almost a 7 million gap. That's basically losing 7 million jobs, okay? So, but yeah, take a look at this clip, guys. I think it's just so funny.
I'll tell you, on day one, Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes. It's really remarkable to think, Susan.
That's not what I said.
I mean, right after a time where we're going through a pandemic that lost 22 million jobs at the height, we've already added back 11.6 million jobs because we had a president who cut taxes, rolled back regulation.
The truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking.
It'd be important if you said the truth. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year. Senator,
that is
that's the math.
absolutely not true. That
Is he only going to repeal part of the Trump tax cuts?
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden.
Oh, there's that smug grin again. There she is. Every time, she has nothing to say or she nothing to prove. Every time she's proven wrong, she's got to have that smug grin on her face. I think it's just, man. I think Mike Pence is just smashing her at this point. So, but yeah, let's get on to the next one. And so the next discussion they have is about fracking and how Kamala Harris says, and Biden have multiple times said they're going to ban fracking. I repeat, I'm going to ban fracking. We're going to ban fracking everywhere. We're going to ban it from everywhere. They said it like it's all over YouTube. You guys can look it up. And now every time they're asked the question, they're saying, no, we're not banning fracking. There's no way we're banning fracking. We're not going to do that, you guys. So, yeah, here's this clip.
We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Well, like, what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipe?
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated.
I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Ends. Number one.
3 consecutive American presidents have enjoyed stints of explosive economic growth due to a boom in oil and natural gas production. As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes.